Hey guys, JJ here. We have a really awesome speaker today, and the guy I really like, even though he likes the Buffalo Bills, I still like this guy. Um, and it's a really good friend of mine. He was a coach, trainer, motivational leader, and just a wealth of knowledge, coaching thousands and thousands of real estate investors. And now he's my business partner as well as my friend. I'd like to introduce Bob McIntosh. Bob, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me, JJ. Excited to be
Oh,
here.
I appreciate you even being here. We're fortunate to have so many of your expertise. Hey, when I met you, you were on stage talking to thousands of investors, and you were developing a CRM platform for an educational group. But I mean, you have expertise in website design and funnels and CRMs. Can you explain a little bit about your background in that field?
I started in real estate with my dad, flipping houses, doing the normal thing, I guess you could say. And then through doing that, I got very good at internet marketing. That was always my jam. And I was fortunate enough to be invited by one of the, still to this day, largest education companies in the world. Doesn't really exist anymore. They stopped it for COVID, but and help them build their program to teach their investors how to use the internet to find deals as investors. That's actually what we'll be talking tonight a lot about is that exact methodology and some things of that nature. And I did that for a long time, taught tens of thousands of investors. I've got over 4,500 hours on the stage. I'm one of the few people out there that probably knows the most about internet marketing and real estate investing specifically, those two intersection of those two areas, if you will. And since then, done a bunch of other things, own a small portfolio of 34 rentals and have a few other things going on this side. Obviously, we've got the Always Capital Fund and lending arm. I'm partners with JJ, Brian, and Mark, many of whom you guys have all met. And then my main business right now, at least, is this, which is 3 Degrees Consulting, which is a marketing agency that helps real estate investors and coaches and service providers to the real estate investing industry with marketing to investors. So that's where I'm at. Yeah, Ben, I still think it's small, right, in comparison to the people that I look up to, but I grant that to some people that might be big.
So, Bob, could you take a minute and just kind of explain how Always Capital came about?
Yeah, so all of us as partners, we've borrowed tens of millions of dollars in our careers, raised tens of millions of dollars. And at some point, you'll find if you're in business for long enough that the closer you get to the origination of money, the more money there is to actually be made. And this is not to downplay real estate. It's certainly there's a lot of other advantages to owning real estate besides just the actual cash, such as tax and depreciation and equity and growth and blah blah blah, all that. But that was part of it. So we said, hey, we want to be closer, right? We're borrowing and raising millions of dollars. Why not be closer to it? And a lot of what we built was based on what many of us in Always Capital were always looking for, but unable to find. Some of that's certain kinds of loans that you just can't get anywhere else. Some of that's just working with someone who was an investor first. How many times do you talk to someone or you talk to a lender, and they think like the guy in the suit at the bank. They don't think like an investor who's trying to figure out how to get a deal done and make some money. They don't think about I'm trying to grow a portfolio. I'm trying to grow my business. They look at it the wrong way. So we pride ourselves on understanding what investors need and want because that's who we are first and foremost. And the lending just happens to be something that we've added into our sphere of influence, if you will. What I'm about to share with you tonight is actually a chunk from the Dealmakers Bootcamp that we did with JJ in LA in end of June last year, which means that this is a paid presentation. What you're about to learn is what most other people paid to get. And the reason that we're doing this, the reason that I'm sharing this information tonight without you guys having to pay for it, because JJ doesn't charge for these calls, is that we have this challenge running currently, right? And the challenge is designed to help you guys get deals, buy properties, close loans. Selfishly, as always, capital, we want to be your loan provider. We don't get paid anything on anything from always capital side unless you close a loan. That's the only time that we make any money. And so, yes, selfishly, I want you to get deals because I want you to get loans from us because I want to make money. With that said, you should want to get deals. right? So our interests are perfectly aligned. You want deals, you need money, we have money, we don't have deals. And what I mean by that is obviously we have our own deals and things of that nature, but the more that we do, the more we go. So there's and thank you, Bell just put in how the point system works for the challenge. There's a link you can sign up. It costs you absolutely nothing to join the challenge, right? And whoever has the most points at the end of 60 days, which I believe will be I think it's don't quote me on this date, but I'm pretty sure it's March 14th is the end date, somewhere right around there. Whoever has the most number of points at that time will win $1,000 of Amazon, like an Amazon gift card worth $1,000.
What we want to do is not just be your lender with Always Capital. We're looking to help you guys that are gators, those of you that want to be lenders, by providing you all the capital that you may need as a lender. And what I mean by this is, let's call it, the phrase gator is very popular in the landscape right now, but let's call a gator a connector. If a connector leads a borrower to a broker and that deal goes successfully, that broker may give that connector the industry average of a quarter point stipends and financial appreciation for the connection. But as that borrower goes back to that broker, they already have a connection in the future, second, third, fourth deal down the line. They don't need the connector anymore to introduce them. They know one another. So there is no more financial incentive or stipends or thanks or appreciation to that connector by the broker. You guys can, if you're interested in learning how to become a lender, whether you're a Gator or whether you're not a Gator, that's exclusive terminology, exclusive to Paces community. But if you're want to learn about that, we have an affiliate program where we will teach you how to protect yourself as a lender, teach you how to underwrite deals at an elevated excuse me, at an elevated level other than that which some of the programs are dealing with the new brand new, hey, I've never done it in real estate before, but I want to be a lender. We're giving you elevated training, and that is free. My group is free. My networking group is free. Everything I do is free, and that we're going to do to help you is free, but it's based upon the relationship. We want to get to know you. If you guys are interested in this program, we have a group here called Capital Investing Done Safely, right? We started with just 50 lenders. Now we're up to over 200, right? But to get into this group, it's a private group. You cannot find this group on Facebook. It is a private group. To get in here, I have to invite you. You need to text me, say, hey, I want to get in that group, and I will invite you. Once I invite you, I will then send you a text message saying you've been invited, sending you the link. And when you come to the page below the photo, there'll be a little big blue banner saying Jay just invited you to this group. And instead of saying invite, it will say join. We'd love to get you guys in here. We'd love to help you guys out. As I said, we had an event in June of last year. We're not sure we're going to have one again this year. We may. It's still up in the air. But we want to bring you guys together. We want to network. We want to meet in person. We want to build relationships. We want to help you with your business. But more importantly, we want to build a relationship. The best business relationship is a personal friendship. We want to get to know you. The best way to lose money is to do business with someone that you do not know. So that's my little introduction to the group. If you guys want to get into that group, please by all means send me a text message. Bob, back to you. I'm going to step out, my friend.
Yeah, 100%. And for those of you, real quick on the group, just want to add one thing. So the Capital Investing Done Safely group is designed for those who already have some level of capital, right? So if you're, for lack of a better way to put it, if you're broke and you're like, hey, I'm trying to build my reserves, trying to build something better for myself, that's not the group for you. What that group will do is for people who already have money to look to work with people who need money, who need down payments, who need better credit, who need those things to work their deals. One of the biggest stoppers that we've seen in the real estate business is simply that, the old adage of, you need money to make money is still true, right? And I know that Pace goes out there and talks about subject to, and there's plenty of ways to get deals with absolutely no money out of pocket. But the reality is sometimes if you had someone who has money already and you can work with them to partner together on a deal, you actually stand to make a whole lot more money for you and for them than trying to do it otherwise. Not every time, not all the time, and sometimes you don't. Look, I've bought deals that we didn't need any money for out of pocket because we had lenders, we had people, we had ways to get that. But that group is designed to help you understand how to leverage that. And for those of you who aren't ready for that yet, that's okay. The reason that we foster and encourage that group is because I want these people who do to go find the folks who don't and work together. At the end of the day, we're all about everyone winning together. That's the most important thing that we can do is help each other, right? Look, I run a marketing agency, I do real estate. I have a lot of very competitive businesses that I operate in, and I'll never root for anyone to lose. I want everyone to win because the reality is there's more than enough money out there for all of us who want to spend the time to go find it, make it, earn it, keep it, and grow it. But most people don't want to do those things. They want to be, they want the easy street. And for those of you here, you understand that education, taking time out of your evening or afternoon to come learn and grow is much, much more important. And so I want to honor and value that time. So I'm going to get into my presentation here and walk through it. Again, if you have questions, please just drop them in there. We'll do our best to answer all those as we go. So this is you'll see this is the Deal Maker Bootcamp. This is my same slides that I taught from that group. Why? Because the process still absolutely works. It's still very valuable. And if you're trying to win this challenge, or you're just trying to win in the real estate game in general, whether or not you're taking part in the challenge, you should. But even if you're not, how do you win? Which is get deals. At the end of the day, that's what all of us need. We want deals. We want to grow, right? Real estate provides all of these amazing benefits, but if we don't actually buy it, own it, and grow it, it's kind of pointless. So this is about. This is the deal making playbook, which is a step-by-step guide to how to get deals today. Literally, you guys will be able to leave this class tonight and go find deals. And for those of you who actually take action and actually work forward and actually do what I teach you tonight, you should have a deal under contract in the next 2 weeks if you're vigilant and you do the right things. And I know that sounds crazy, but it absolutely can happen. Why? Because it has time and time again. Myself and Brian have taught a variation of this for years, and very, very rarely does it ever. Actually, can't think of ever any time ever where it hasn't worked out for someone to get at least one person, at least to get one deal once. Most everyone else has gotten more than that, to be honest. So let's get into it. Real quick, for those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Bob McIntosh. I've been in the real estate game for a while. Bought my first property in 2008 and have been growing it since then. Flipped a lot of houses with my dad. I'm the author of a best-selling book, and I run a marketing agency on top of that. So I'm not going to get into all the details. If you want to know more about me, connect with me. Actually, Bella, if you could drop my link in. Bella's going to drop a link in. It's going to have my contact card on there. It's got all my personal information, as well as the ability to book a call. If you want to book a call with me, just grab a time. Let's chat. How can I help you out? Let's figure it out. So here's what we're learning. Why the MLS is the best friend you've overlooked. And I know the moment that I say this, most people go, ugh, MLS deals. What are you talking about? But just hang tight, right? This presentation was not just based on, well, I think there's deals in MLS, so maybe we'll go find it. It's based on actual data, based on just my business, Brian's business, and numerous other people's actual businesses that support that 45 to 50% of the deals that you buy in your business can come from the MLS, but only if you do things the right way. And this is the difference that I want you guys to understand. I'm going to walk you through why this is so important and why it's so underappreciated in the real estate investing. All right. I'm going to walk you through how you can literally make hundreds of offers today if you want. No joke. All right. Now, maybe not, for those of us in the East Coast, maybe not today because it's, almost 7 p.m., but we'll say tomorrow. And then how can you boost your credibility to get more acceptances of the deals that you're after on the MLS? So here's the real stats. This is actual data provided by the National Association of Realtors. This is from April of 2025. So it's about a year old, but the data holds pretty consistent. 95% of all real estate sold in the United States on an annual basis is transacted through the MLS. 2% is transacted from family member to family member, and 4% is transacted off market. Here's the thing that no one ever seems to understand. Everyone's teaching you, go get these off-market deals, off-market deals. And look, when you get a good off-market deal, 100%, right? The profit's going to be there, absolutely. But that literally means that you're now ignoring 94% of the available deals for you to buy. If I told you that you were ignoring 94% of something that you wanted, would you stop for a second and go, maybe what I've been taught and what I've thought is wrong. Maybe I need to stop and open my mind for a second to some new way of doing things because I'm losing out on 94% of the opportunities that might be available to me. That's crazy. It's literally stupid if you don't do that. And so I understand that off-market deals will produce, generally speaking, better profits and better spreads. However, the reality is 9 out of 10 of your offers that you put out to the world to buy a property should be coming from the MLS. Why? Because 9 out of 10 of the properties you're ever going to buy are on the MLS, right? And it's kind of crazy to think that. Now, I'll get into some even more shocking stats that people don't realize as we go forward, but understand that this is the place. And guess what? You don't have to convince them to sell. They already know that they want to sell. You don't have to work them to a number. They already know where the number is. They've told you the starting point of the negotiation. How many times have we heard from someone in the world, in the world, the person who gives the price first loses? Well, guess what? That means that every MLS deal loses because they gave the price first. To be on the MLS, they had to give a price. They're already telling you where to start. So this is why it's just such an underrated tool for this. So I hear this all the time. Bob, there's no deals on the MLS. There's no deals on the MLS. Meh, meh, meh. That's what people sound like when they tell me there's no deals on MLS. You're wrong. I'm telling you flat out, 100%, you are wrong. There are deals on there. Now, not every property on the MLS is a deal. Okay. But there are plenty of them out there if you simply take the time to look for it. Okay. So, first and foremost, on the MLS, now, not 100% of those properties on the MLS are going to be there for you, right? They're retail houses that are move-in ready, that don't need any work, and the seller needs all the money. They can't carry a mortgage because they got to take the funds to the next house. Those deals are not for you, and that's okay. But about 23% of the MLS houses that are listed are available for investors to purchase. Okay? 23%. So now think about this, right? 90% or more of all the investors out there are competing for 4% and ignoring the 23% of the 94%. I know that's a lot of whole numbers and math and all that, but think about that. 23% of the deals are there for you, which means there's tons of options. You already know the pricing. You know that they want to sell their house. You don't have to convince them to sell their house. Literally, like, what more could you ask for? So for those of you guys looking for deals, and for those of you guys looking to win this challenge, right? The simplest way to win the challenge is to get a loan through us. But to get a loan through us, you got to have a property. To get a property, you got to put some offers out there, which means that 9 out of every 10 offers that you should be making every single week should be listed properties. Otherwise, you're skipping literally over the dollars to get the cents. And Ade asked, what about commercial? There is also commercial MS deals out there. It's a little bit of a different world in the commercial space, and there's a whole lot of other considerations. But there's like LoopNet and places like that. You can find commercial, which is very similar. The numbers are a little bit more favorable to off market in commercial, but not significantly enough to ignore what I'm teaching today. So how do we get these? Right? If we know that there's 94% of these deals are out there, or properties are sold in MLS, and that 23% of those are available to us investors, how do we get them? Well, you got to have a plan, right? Which we'll go through with you today. You got to have ability to find these properties, which you can do for free, by the way, literally cost nothing to find these properties. Okay. Speed will be your ally, though. This is where most people make the biggest mistake. Number 3, speed. Understand that your ability to get to the deal quickly will trump anything else that you can do in this space. Number 4, gotta know your terms. What can you play with? What can you buy for? How much can you buy for? What price are you willing to accept? What's the market look like? What's the rentals if you're going to do, a cash flowing property? Like, you got to know your numbers and terms inside and out, and you need a follow-up system. The follow-up is the most important thing. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think we've ever purchased a property on the MLS from our first offer. Every time we bought one from the MLS, it was from the second, third, fourth, 10th, 20th offer later on. It was never from the first one. So understand this is a numbers game for you, but guess what? There's lots of numbers. Okay, I'm going to show you guys a real world example of how this works in a little bit. How do you find them? I know this sounds silly and cheesy, but guess what? Zillow. It's a free app on your phone that literally says, here's a bunch of properties that are for sale that meet what you're looking for. You can go get the Zillow app. And I want you to do that right now. For those of you who don't already have the Zillow app on your phone or your tablet, whatever, go download it right now. It's 100% free. You don't even have to actually sign up. There's some benefits to signing up and giving your name and email, whatever, but you don't even have to do that, right? Now, when you're going to look for properties on Zillow, there's some things that you need to do to help you narrow down your search. Because again, if only 23% of the properties that are available in MLS are for investors, that means the majority aren't. So we got to filter some of those out. Some easy ways to do that. There's a keyword function, right? So in the top of the search bar, it says home feature, school, location. There's a little search bar. That search bar lets you also put in keywords. So pick things like motivated, price to move, fixer upper, needs rehab, quaint, needs some love. Recent, what's the one that I saw recently? A handyman's dream. Like things that are, I mean, these are kind of obvious phrases. I get it, right? But they'll help you narrow down in that. Okay. Next, there's a checkbox that says, show me only properties that have been reduced in price. That's another option, right? If they've been reduced in price, the reality is they didn't sell it what they wanted to, so they're coming down, which means they're more motivated. Their mindset is not, I want top dollar. It's, I couldn't get top dollar, so what's the next dollar I can get, right? So it starts to filter some of that's out. And there's also a price filter. So if you know your market well enough, you can also say, well, anything listed below this price in this area is probably a pretty good deal, right? And so if I put a price filter in, I immediately am only being shown properties that are already listed at good deals, which doesn't even mean that I can't negotiate it lower. It just means their opening salvo is already a good deal for me. Okay. And then the last thing is you want to sort by newest. All right. It'll do that. The default idea of Zillow is that it wants to show you new listings because it's new, it's exciting. Look, there's a new property for you. For us as investors, we don't care about new listings. New listings means there's very little opportunity for us. They haven't been around long enough. They haven't sat there long enough. They're not motivated enough. They just listed it. But what you do is you sort by newest and then you scroll the bottom of the list and move your way up. And I'm going to show you guys what this looks like here in a few minutes. But Zillow is a free, great tool to go find deals. Okay. And then we're going to put offers on those properties. And I'll walk you through how to do it because there's a very specific methodology to putting the offer on MLS properties that will help you win more times than not. There's also a lot of math behind this. So stick with me. Okay. Second, if you use this QR code, there's a free app called Zorba, who we partnered with for finding properties. They add approximately 5,000 new listings per week. Most of these are actually wholesale deals, which means a wholesaler went out and found the property, locked it up, and they're marking it up a little bit to sell to you, usually at a very, very good price. It's 100% free to sign up. Some markets may have a lot of data, some markets may have none. So that's why I'm also talking about Zillow. Every market has Zillow, but not every market has this Zorba. You do pay a small fee when you buy the property that you listed on Zorba. No different than if you run the MLS, you're paying a fee for buying an MLS property. Same basic idea. Again, you'll know what your fee is going to be and you'll be able to work it in and negotiate if you need to. If you use that QR code there, it'll take you to the Zorba sign up. From there, again, 100% free to find deals. Not in every market, but in a lot of markets. And like I said, they're adding somewhere around 5,000 new listings per week are on there. Okay. So you got two great ways to find MLS listings immediately. So now we got to do some fast analysis. Not detailed, slow, pull every number, run every comp all the way down, drive the property, inspect them, do a drone footage, get a helicopter, go, no, right? We're doing very, very fast analysis. First, check the days on market. More days on market, more motivation, right? That means the lower the price, they might be willing to accept, right? Now, I do want to caveat that not always. All right. So, for example, I have a house on the market right now, right? It's been on the market for almost 6 months. The price is the price. There is no negotiation of the price, outside of maybe about 10%. The reality is that not everyone is going to be motivated to sell, and that's okay. If there is no motivation there at all, we move on to the next one. But if there's a high days on market, there's a higher probability of motivation. Next, read a description for keywords we want. Do they talk about motivation, moving, going to a new school district, just had kids, downsizing, upsizing? These are all things that indicate some level of motivation, right? Not just, well, I threw it in the market to see if I can get the money I want. And if I don't, then I'll stay here, right? That's not a good motivated seller for us. But there's lots of keywords that are very indicative. And usually we can read the description of the property really quickly and get a pretty good feel for whether the property is going to be a good one for us to look at or not. Okay, next, check the owner's purchase price. Now, we won't always know what the interest rate is, but we can be pretty well assured that if they close on the property in 2020, 2021, 2022, they've probably got a pretty solid interest rate because they were low at that point in time. So that tells us one thing. All right, they probably have a low interest rate, so there's some room for me to work with it. The other thing is it tells me what they paid for it. right? Obviously, if I'm buying the house to rehab, I need to know what the price is going to be. If I'm buying to cash flow it, right? Knowing what they paid helps me get the motivation. It starts to tell me, do I need to offer them terms or price? On all properties, it's always one of the two. And I'll get to that in a minute, but it's always terms or price. Next is we got to run a quick Mayo formula if this is going to be a flip that we're doing. I don't know if anyone knows what the Mayo formula is, but I'm going to run through it real quick. So the Mayo formula is the price that you're going to buy the house for times zero point 0.7 minus repairs. Yep, Dom is correct. It's the maximum allowable offer. This tells you what you can pay for a house on a flip. Now, it's not always true on cash flow properties or rentals or things of that nature. This formula doesn't hold true. There's different formulas for that. But this gets us a pretty good estimation. Are we even close, right? So, for example, if I got to buy the house for 100, okay, times zero point 0.7 means 70,000, right? That's what I got to buy sorry, not buy the house. The after repair value is the first number. So if the house is worth $100,000 when I fix it up and sell it, I got to buy it for 70,000 minus repairs. So if it needs 50,000 in repairs and I'm buying it at zero point 0.7 of the ARV, that means at the end of the day, I got to buy the house for 20 grand, all right, just to make numbers easy, right? To buy that house in a space that makes sense. Because by the time I factor in the repairs, plus the holding costs, title, insurance, attorneys, and all the things that go into it, right? That's the number that's safe. Now, there's some variability to that in markets like Los Angeles or other top tier A markets in terms of size and price. Then in those markets, you might need to do zero point 0.8, even 0.85, because you probably won't get properties at zero point 0.7. In less expensive markets, like for example, a Buffalo market, where I do a lot of my projects, right? If you go zero point 0.8, 0.85, you're going to find yourself broke on a deal very quickly. So we gotta go zero point 0.7, sometimes even zero point 0.6 if it's a really low cost. And just to give you a comparison, right? Average home price in LA might be 650, 700,000. Average home price in Buffalo market's about 120,000. So it's a big difference in price. So we got to understand that those numbers can be there. But again, all I want to know is, am I close, right? Are they listed at way over the ARV and they have a lot of repairs? Well, they're probably smoking crack and it may not be a good deal for me to go with. So that's the idea. And again, MAO is ARV minus rehab, times zero point 0.7 minus rehab costs. Okay. And so actually I want to correct Dom there. So it's ARV times zero point 0.7. Now again, adjust the number on your market minus rehab costs. Okay. Now, subtract from Mayo, more time equals more subtraction. What I mean by that is if the property's been on the market for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, now all of a sudden I can start to subtract more and more from that because there's going to be a whole lot more desire to sell and motivation to sell, right? And I'll get to that here in a minute. I'll show you guys some real examples, all right? Next, find the actual listing agent and contact them. This is not the Zillow agent that pops up first. You want to find the actual agent who listed the property. This is an important distinction. If you go through your agent or if you have your own license, you should be able to figure this out too. But we want to talk to the actual listing agent who listed the property, nobody else. Okay. And that's an, again, important distinction. So when we send the offer, we're going to reach out to the listing agent who actually listed the property. You need to build rapport to them. You need them to like you. Here's the thing. Agents are legally required to bring your offer to their seller, but there is no legal requirement on the way in which they present that offer. So for example, if I pissed off the agent and I said, yeah, go take it to my seller because you have to. F you. Do it. Right? And I go, yeah, here's an offer. This guy's an idiot. You shouldn't take it, but here's an offer. Well, they legally fulfilled their obligation. Now, in the meantime, if you actually built rapport and walked them through and helped them understand how you arrived at your number and why and all the things that I'm going to talk about in a second, guess what? Now they present your offer with a whole different light. Now, in some states, in some brokerages, and even cities, this always varies, so take it with a grain of salt. But in most cases, if I'm offering to buy an MLS property, I'm also offering the listing agent who listed the house to represent me as the buyer and double their closing commission. Why do I do that? Because it gets me more deals. The little bit of extra that they're going to make on the deal is going to be calculated in the numbers that I run before I buy the deal. So it doesn't matter. It's going to somebody. It might as well go to them because I guarantee you that they will present your offer in a much better light if they stand to make twice the commission when the house sells. Promise you they will. Now, some agents will be like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, it's illegal. No, it's not illegal. In 0 states is it illegal for an agent to double close your commission. Now, their brokerage might tell them they're not allowed to do that, but that doesn't make it illegal. And let's be very clear. It's never illegal. There's no place it's illegal. But there are requirements for brokerages, and some people just don't feel comfortable doing that. And that's fine. I'm not going to push them if they can't, but it's not illegal. I do want to clarify that. By the way, agents will often tell you as investors a lot of what you're doing is illegal. They're wrong. Nothing that you're ever going to learn from this group or any of us and Always Capital is illegal, regardless of what an agent says. Okay? Doesn't matter. It's not illegal. Nothing that we teach you is illegal. They just think it is because they live in a little box that they can't get themselves outside of. Okay. So build rapport, and I'll talk about that in a minute. If they offer to represent you, obviously say yes. Now they're going to get double the commission. Try to get out of them the seller's motivation. This is the most important part of the call outside of building rapport, right? If they're like, yeah, no, they don't care. They'll sell the house and they sell the house and whatever, then this is not a good deal. End it there, move on. If they're like, yeah, no, they're motivated, they're moving, kids are in a new school, got divorced, whatever, right? If there's a motivation there, then we want to pursue it further. Ask the questions to determine, is it terms or price that are more important? Do they need their money so they can go buy another house? Or do they not need the money and terms might be acceptable? Most of you guys are in sub two or in some variation of sub two. Guess what? This is where we play with that. Not every person will accept terms. Some of them just need the money because they have to do something with it. But many will take terms if it makes sense. So figure out which is which for them. And then workshop the offer with the agent. Be like, hey, if I was going to offer this, or I was going to put these kinds of terms in place, how do you think they would take that? Would they be open to something like that? Tell me, like, you know them better than I do. Walk me through what you think they would think about this, right? And you're basically what you're doing is it's a NLP technique called us versus them. When you call an agent about a property, they immediately assume that they are representing their seller and it's them and the seller on one side and you on the other side. Asking them to workshop the offer with you moves them from being on one side opposite of you and moves them to working with you against the seller. That's what we want. And I say against, but the reality is we just need their buy-in because if they're not going to present the offer in a great light, they're never going to move forward with that deal. Okay? So JJ talks about this all the time, so I'm not going to do a ton of talking here, but building rapport. Ford, which stands for Family, Occupation, Recreations, Dreams. Use that. JJ talks about this and teaches it all the time, so I won't go into it. Be professional, respectful. Remember, you're talking to someone whose livelihood is on the line, and they need to understand why paying less for a property or working through terms makes sense for them and their seller that they represent. So be respectful, be professional. Don't ever get angry at them, right? If you need to, mute yourself, take a deep breath, and come back to it. If you use your social media to your advantage, it will help you. The bigger your social presence is, the social credibility and proof of who you are, what you do, the better off you're going to be when people go, oh yeah, you can check out my social. I buy houses like this all the time. They go, oh yeah, look, he really does. Cool. Right now, it's adding to your credibility, so it'll be helpful. Frame everything as to why it's good for them or their seller. Never just say, well, I want these terms because that's what I want. You have to help them understand that why your terms are going to be best for the seller and for them, right? Now, for most agents, the most important thing that they care about is, are they going to get the commission? Always be willing to pay the commission. Never argue their commission. Don't negotiate it down. Simply subtract out their commission from your numbers to make sure the deal pencils the way you need it to and pay them. I promise you, if you pay the agents what they want, what they're asking for, they will bring you more deals than which will make you more money than you'll save by nickeling and diming them down by 1/4% or 0.5% on their commission. I guarantee you will. Ask lots of open-ended questions, right? Always a great way to drive rapport and figure out what they want. Mirror their language and tone. Don't mirror their accents. I'm from Buffalo. If I get on with an agent from Texas and I say, hey, y'all, I want to buy that property, they're going to immediately go, what? What? No, hold on a second. Because my accent's going to slip at some point. It's going to get weird. And I got to explain it. And it's good. Look, All right, my girlfriend makes fun of me for my accents all the time. I can't try to pretend for too long. It's not going to work. So don't mirror accents, but mirror their body language if you're in person, if you're on a Zoom. Mirror their tonality. Mirror what the questions they're asking. A lot of that will help you with this. Flatter them. I know it sounds cheesy and stupid, but it works. Tell them they're a great agent. Doesn't matter if they are. Tell them that you're so looking forward to dealing with them, even if you hate them. It doesn't matter. Kiss their ass. They have the ability to get you the deal done or not. They have the influence to get the seller to accept your offer or not. So make them feel good about themselves. Okay. Now, if you're doing a flip, for example, versus a buy and hold, when you go to fix the property up and you resell it, oftentimes I will offer them to have first right of refusal on listing the property for sale when it's fixed up. So even though they might be agreeing to a lower sales price with me today, they're going to make more money when I turn around and also sell the house. How many people can say, "Yeah, I'm going to buy a house through you. You're going to get a commission, and then in 3, 6, 9 months, I'm going to turn around, sell the house, and you're going to get another commission from the same address." They will be your best friends. Okay. And this is how you start to build an agent army, right? Build rapport with them and then ask them if they have other deals. Ask them what what areas do they operate in. Tell them what you're looking for and what makes a great deal for you. And tell them that when you find these deals, I will buy them. You should be their first call anytime a deal fits your buy box. Get their buy-in to bring you great deals. Just trying to say, hey, if you found a deal that fits these criteria that I said I'm interested in, would you be willing to bring me the deal first? So I can look through it and I'll make a quick decision and tell you yes or no, I'm interested or not. So that by the time you're even listed and you're ready to go with the deal, you know you've already got a buyer ready. It's going to help your sellers feel like you did an even better job for them. Okay. And then ask them to connect you to other agents who have deals, right? Sometimes you'll get a listing, right? And they're just like, no, I don't deal with those kinds of properties. But we have an agent in our office who does. Great. Who's that person? Can you connect me to them? You will always get a warmer reception if another agent in the same office refers you, or if it's someone that they know. Promise you this will be better for you. Okay. Next, you got to understand your terms, their price, their terms, your price. Okay. Is this all cash, subject to some other structure? What's the closing time frame? Contingencies, flexible possession. I do want to quantify flexible possession, meaning like, hey, I'll buy the house today. You can rent it back to me from me for 3 months to get your stuff out. In some states, that's fine. In New York State, for example, terrible idea. California, terrible idea. They rent the house back from you. It could take you a year or more to get them out if they don't want to. So you got to know your state, right? Usually, landlord-friendly states you can rent back to. Non-landlord-friendly states you should never rent back to. But it is an option depending on where you're buying. Oftentimes, you can offer no inspection, no appraisal, so you can bypass those issues. Free clean out or junk removal. You're going to have to do that anyways if there's a lot. Let's be real, right? And then share your plans if it's relevant to the sellers. For example, one of the earlier houses that we bought in our company was a fire damaged house. And we told the lady when we bought it that we were going to fix it up and sell it to another family who could live in it because her and her husband bought it. It was like their very first house and she lived in it for 30 years, burned down. Husband had passed away. And we told her what we were going to do with it. And she was like, I would like that. I would like another family to have this house. And so that's what we did. And by the way, after we fixed the house up, we invited her back in. She loved it. She actually broke out in tears when she walked through because she was so excited that some other family was going to get to enjoy this house the way that her and her husband had with their family. So understand your seller motivation, and sometimes your plans can align directly with them. Okay. Now, even after you talk to them and you do this and you build rapport and blah, 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 and all the things I just told you, guess what? They will not get back with you. The agents will not call you back. They won't email you back. They'll forget to present your offer. A million things will happen. So follow up is important. You should have a follow up on every person that you talk to, every agent that you outreach at 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, and 1 week. And if they still haven't sold the property to you or to anybody else, you follow up every single month until that property is sold. Because at some point, you being top of mind, even if your offer wasn't the greatest, you're like, no, 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 I got better offers. Well, they all fell through. Guess what? You having the follow up and going will ultimately get you to where you want to be. Okay. So yeah, based on I got with Brian and Mark and JJ, and we pull our stats. 96% of MLS accepted offers were after the first offer. Many were after 3+ buyers fell out from buying the house, but I still got it. I know that sounds crazy, right? You're unlikely to get the house the first time, but stay with it. The follow-up game is important. This is where a good CRM will come in handy. You've got to have a good CRM that reminds you to do the follow-up because it is a numbers game. Okay. If you do not put lots of offers out, you will not make this process work. So here's the stats on market. In other words, MLS listed properties. 1 in 50 offers wins for the kinds of properties that you want. Off market stats, 1 in 100 offers wins. This is what we've seen time in and time out through thousands of students. Okay. Now here's the data. Put all the data in a little chart for you guys here. Okay. Acceptance percentage is red, percentage of your offers in green. So at 90 to 100% of list price, 80% of the time your price will get, if you are 80% of the list price, your offer will get accepted. Um, sorry, at 90% to 100% of the listing price, 80% of your offers will get accepted. That's what I'm trying to say, right? So if you're within 90 to 100% of the listing price, 80% of the time you win. At 75 to 89% of list price, 50% of the time you will win. At less than 70%, 75% of the list price, 2% of the time you will win. And these numbers hold true time and time again. Okay, these aren't just something I pulled out. This is actual real life data. Now, on the converse side, where do you put your percentage of offers? 5% of your offers should be between 90 and 100% because it just makes sense. It's a good property. It fits the seller, the motivation, the interest rate, the whatever. Okay. 15% of your offers should be between 75 and 89%. You can usually find a handful of good deals in this market or a handful of people that are willing to negotiate to a price that makes sense. 80% of your offers will be at less than 75% of list price, and that's okay. This math, while I know it seems counterintuitive, is how you win because you have to do half as much work to get the same number of properties on market as you do off market. Let that sink in. Half as much work to do the same amount of deals on market on the MLS versus off MLS. Now, I'm not saying that off MLS deals don't work because there's great deals out there for sure. But you have to work twice as hard to get one of those as you do if you just did the MLS method I taught you here today. Okay? So, simple, easy, a little crazy, but it absolutely works. Now, here's what I want to show you guys next. I loaded up Zillow, right? And it by default here loaded in. So by the way, case in point, this is the house that I live in, right? Had been on the market for um, 18 months. They originally listed this house at 1.7 million. We bought it for a million. Why? Because guess what? Right here, 18 months. Motivation. Motivation. Same idea. Now, let me zoom out here. Look at all these beautiful red boxes. These are all properties for sale that I can buy right now. So I'm going to come up here. I'm just going to type in motivated. Go to this filter right here. And this is where we can see all the different things in here. So we've got our price calculator, bedroom, bathrooms, home type. So make sure you do all this. What we're looking for. By the way, guys, I usually remove auctions from here and I usually remove foreclosures. Foreclosures and auctions they're just more difficult to deal with. I'm not saying that you can't, but you can. So here's some filters. So remember I told you about the price reductions only. So I can turn that on. Notice how, watch, if I remove this, in the area that I'm in, there's 355 houses for sale. And when I say only show me people who've been on long enough to reduce prices, right? Here's 43 results. So it narrows it down for me a whole lot. I can choose certain things. Obviously, I may not want to include, 55 and over communities if you don't, if there's schools, HOA, there's all kinds of other filters in here that we can go on. And then I can even choose max time on Zillow. I don't usually use this a lot because I want older properties to come through here. And then here's my keywords. So I can type in here, motivated. So in my area, right, there are 282 homes in this area that have the word motivated in the description and have had a price reduction on the MLS. That's 282 houses I can go make offers on. Now, you might go, Bob, well, that's a big area. Okay, well, let's just zoom into my little area. I live in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. Okay, what do we got here? Okay, 1.4 million. Perfect. Okay, here's the deal, right? Price cut 100,000 on 112, right? So that was 10 days ago. Let's pull this house up. We're going to see through here. This looks like a beautiful house. So this may not be a good deal for us. We may go, oh, you know what? This one's fully, good to go. It's not necessarily a good deal. All right, let me come over this direction. There's a bit more stuff this way that needs some help sometimes. Okay. All right, so here's one. Looks nice enough. A little dated, but not crazy. Okay. Now let's just say, for example, that I like this house, just for the argument, because I know we're running out of time here and I want to be conscious. So I'm gonna come up here, I'm gonna scroll down on Zillow here. Okay, move in ready, well maintained. This is a great keyword. Well maintained means I haven't updated anything in this house in a long time. It might be taken care of, but it also means it's gonna be old, right? And this is a condo. Obviously, if you don't want condos, you would filter that out. 637 days on Zillow. 2 years on Zillow. Now, there's an argument to be made that, well, they just want their price and they're willing to sell it for that. But we don't know that, right? Maybe after 2 years, they're finally like, shit, we got to sell this thing. We got to get going. So they're ready today to sell it. Who knows, right? Keeping it coming down here. Okay, price and tax history. This is what I'm after. So let me scroll down here. We got to click some show more here. Let's get some detail. All right, so 1994, this was purchased for 79,000, sold again in 2002 for 134,000, listed for sale in 2010 for 145, sold for 130, listed for sale in 2024. So I can see through the history right here. This person paid $130,000 for this condo. So now I know if what, 16 years ago, they paid 130,000. So the reality is they probably owe somewhere, maybe not quite half, but maybe 60% of this number, assuming they didn't take out any other mortgages or liens, which we don't know, or do any, there's other things we may not know here. But either way, we know that they owe, they probably owe less than 130 in the house. And then they're listing it for 260, right? And they dropped it from 260 to 257 2 months later. Then 6 months later, they dropped it to 250. Then 6 months later, they dropped it to 237. And then 6 months later, they dropped it to 227. So they started at 260, they're at 227 right now. They've dropped quite a bit, which means there's some level of motivation here. If they wanted their price, they wouldn't have dropped. That's a $40,000 price drop. Okay. This could be a good deal. This could be. So, all right. One mistake people make is they go, oh, request a tour or like you don't want to do this local. This is going to give you a Zillow agent. You don't want that. So instead, what we want to do is we're going to take this address, which is 3780 Pine Brook Circle, and you're going to Google this address and you're going to find the actual listing agent for this property, and you're going to reach out to that listing agent to start your negotiation and go through the process that I just taught you. Right? Now, you're going to do some quick numbers and say, okay, great. Let's look at this kitchen right here. Well, it's not too bad, right? Stove and microwave are a little bit old, but not terrible. Some day looking tile. This doesn't look bad though, right? Like I could probably put 20, maybe 30,000 into fixing up just some things in the bathroom and kitchen and probably be fine. So if I was going to do a flip, for example, I take, let's just assume to make things easy, let's assume 227,000 was the sales price I could get for this after I fix it up. So I'm going to take 227,000. I'm going to multiply it by 0.7, which gives me 158.9. Let's call it 159,000. I'm going to subtract out, let's call it 20,000 in repairs. So I need to buy this house for about 138 to 140,000. That's the most I can pay. So when I call her, I know I got to get it from 227 to 138, let's call it 140. They bought it for 130. So that means they're only going to net 10 plus whatever their equity is. So I got to help them understand why this is going to be a good deal for them. Instead of sitting on it for another 2 years and hoping they're going to sell it for 227, and paying those taxes and paying the mortgage and blah, 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 help them work through that. Okay. So now I know this price. Great. Note it down. Let's reach out to that agent. Move on. Okay. Next one. Perfect. Okay. This house is for 290,000. Oof, this thing's pretty ugly. Look at those floors, the furniture. Kitchen could use some love. That looks like terrible. There's like some crap going on the wall right here. That looks bad. Looks like there might be wood floors. That's nice. I could probably salvage those, make it good. There's our standard Home Depot vanity from 15 years ago. We'll probably have to replace that, right? That's a pretty ugly color, so we're gonna probably have to paint the outside, right? So I just get a quick feel for this, right? They want 290, perfect. Let's come back down here. We're going to the bottom. Sorry, just not quite the bottom. We'll scroll back up here. See our price and tax history. Show more. Okay, so it looks like in 17 it sold for 90,000, listed for sale at 235,000. Pending sale 235. So sold again for 243. All right, here we go. Now we're getting to the good stuff here. So 2022 it sold for 243. Then they tried to list it a few years later for 319, and they've been dropping the price down to 290 since then. So I know that they basically paid 243 for this house. So that's the number that I got to work from. Now, why is this number important? Because this is going to help me determine, am I going to go in with terms or am I going to go in with price, right? Particularly in Florida, for example, there's plenty of people that bought their house a long time ago. It's appreciated crazy, and they can walk with a lot of cash and still be selling it to you at a discount. Conversely, there's a lot of people that paid way too much for their houses. They can't sell it without a loss, so terms might be more acceptable to them. Um, so that's how we do it, guys. This is it. I know it sounds simple and I know it seems crazy, but I promise you, if you follow through the process, you will get deals. If you get deals, you'll get offers. Submit these things in for quotes. If you need a proof of funds, guess what? Submit the quote form. Bella will put the quote form link in the chat for us so you know where to do that. Submit it for a quote with us. By the way, you get points in the challenge for submitting a quote. Even if you need it as a proof of funds to send an offer letter in, no problem. Our offer letters can be used as a proof of funds and go from there. Just like that. So, guys, I walked you through the process in about an hour, a little less than an hour, and showed you a couple examples. So now you know the process. Could you sit, watch a movie on Netflix and scroll through Zillow, finding properties, note them down in a little notebook, and then reach out to them in the morning every single night? Why not? Why not? Right? Now, here's the caveat to this whole process. Remember, I said speed? It's all about speed. Not speed of, oh, a new listing hit, I got to be the first one to reach out to it. It's speed of you looking through and determining, is this property worth the time for me to put an offer in or not? Is it in an area I like? Is there opportunity here? Is there, repairs for me to fix as a rehabber? Is there a good cash flow market, right? Is it in a neighborhood that I can get really good rental for right now? Is it a good Airbnb market that I can get a high rate from that? Your ability to determine if the property is a good deal or not quickly is how you're going to win on the MLS because again, 70 to 80% of the deals on MLS are not going to be for you guys, but the 20% that are going to be good deals for you to buy. So hopefully that helps give you guys some good understanding. This is again a very quick lesson in this, but it works. Why does it work? Because I've seen it work for hundreds, thousands of students. So why not for you guys? So I'm gonna scroll back through questions here. But JJ, did you want to jump in?
Yeah. I started the call, guys, saying that Bob's one of the smartest guys I know. He has been teaching thousands and thousands of students over years. When I started another education group before running into Sub 2, and that group was 14 years in existence, and it had 28,000 people. I think it was supposed to be a lifetime program. I started that program 8 years ago, and at the end of 24, that lifetime program closes their doors. So that tells me that no matter how big and successful a program is, they don't last forever. They really don't. Things are going to change. So you can't plan for things to last forever. I'm in this program for life. Doesn't work that way. You need to build your network. You need to build relationships. What we're looking to do at Always Capital is build relationships with you guys, help you guys. When I say help you guys, I'm not just talking about me teaching you how to do Facebook or talking about your social media presence, because I don't talk about that all the time. But I'm going to introduce you to Bob, Mark, and Brian. These guys are rock stars. Come meet us, build a relationship with us. We will help you. This stuff that Bob's got here is gold. Gold. So if you want to connect with him, get on his calendar, get his link. Uh, don't be invisible. I talked to somebody earlier today, said, "Oh yeah, I know you, JJ. We've talked." I said, "Dude, I don't know your name, I don't know your face. Be visible. You do not market your business, you market yourself. People need to know who you are. I need to know who you are. If you don't think we've talked enough, guess what? Text me. Hey, let's talk again. It's like if you're trying to find a property get a property from an owner, a distressed property from an owner, you're not going to talk to that owner once to get the property. You may need to talk to that owner 5 times, 8 times, 10 times, 12 times for them to say yes. The more touches you have, the better your relationship. When it comes to getting to know me, guys, I talk to minimum 30 brand new students a week. Minimum. So if you want to stay in touch with me, you need to be visible. Comment on my posts, message me, let's talk. But again, we want to build a relationship. So, does anybody have any questions feel free to, even if you have them in the chat, raise your hands right now if you have a question, guys. Raise your hands.
I do want to jump in real quick. So Kathleen asked, are we using reverse selling? Or are we really looking for a deal to buy? The answer, Kathleen, is yes. If you want to reverse sell a deal because you've got a buyer who needs it and you're going to find the deal for them, this is a great way to do that. If you want a deal for yourself, this is a great way to do that. Right? This is just a great way to get a deal, period. Doesn't matter who you're buying for or how you're buying or why you're buying. What matters is you need a deal. There's a ton of deals on the market ready and available today, right now. Right? Like, by the way, I zoomed out on my area. There was 238 deals that were both price reductions and had the word motivated in the realtor's description. There's 238 potential great properties for me to buy. Not all of them will be good fits, but can I find one out of 238 that's a good deal to buy? Probably. Given our numbers, you can probably find four out of 238 that are good deals to buy. That's what the numbers show.
So
So
when it,
properties are there. You just got to put the work in.
along with that question, that if we're not doing reverse marketing, I guess you could say, and we do want to buy it, we do have to have a down payment, but you guys won't take anything like from Gators or anything like that.
For always capital, right? We need to have skin in the game. Someone has to have skin in the game because it's the easy. What, and by the way, guys, let me share some interesting stats for you. If we go back to the Great Recession when real estate completely collapsed, here's an interesting fact. 85% of the deals that were foreclosed on during that time period were deals in which the owner of the property had less than 15% skin in the game. 85%, right? So what does that tell us? It's a lesson that most lenders have learned, which is if you have something to lose, you'll be much less likely to walk away from the property. So Kathleen, yes, you do have to have money. Now, can you use a gator? Yes, but the gator can't just give you the money. You got to partner with them. And that's part of what the capital investing done safely is work out a partnership. Figure out how that makes. Don't I can't stress this enough. Too many of us are too obsessed, and I was guilty of this early on too, of stepping over dollars for cents and not realizing that while maybe I would like to have a gator who lends me the money and I own 100% of the property, owning 60% of a property that they put up the down payment for and I did all the work to get and find and manage and maintain and rent or whatever we're doing with it is better than owning 0% of nothing because 100% of nothing because I couldn't get the deal done, right? So don't worry about where, like Kathleen, like don't worry about how it works. You find a good deal that makes sense, there'll be someone who wants to work with you on the deal, right? And then use that deal, wrap that deal in to have more money of your own so that eventually you don't need a partner, you don't need a gator, you don't need that. That's how you grow, right? Or you can say, look, I can't take this deal on. It doesn't work without, a private lender or someone in there. So go find someone in this community who wants that deal and is willing to pay you 5 or 10 grand to get it. Now you've got a little bit of savings. Do that 3, 4, 5 times, and now all of a sudden you can buy a property for yourself without having to use anybody else. And then rinse and repeat the process. So yes, you do. Someone has to have skin in the game when you borrow from Always Capital, and we don't take seconds unless the only exceptions that we make to taking seconds is after you've done 10 plus transactions with us, then we'll start to flex our terms a bit because you've shown that we can work with you and we can trust you.
I just wanted it clear because it was a little bit confusing, and so I just don't want anybody else also to, be confused.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, yeah. Look, any deal, whether you go with Always Capital or not, any institutional private lender is going to want you to have skin in the game. And unless you've got a ton of experience, private lenders, individual true private lenders, are going to want you to have skin in the game too. I got a lot of our deals financed 100% without me putting any money in our out of pocket. But it wasn't our first deal or our second deal or even our first year or even second year. It wasn't until 4 or 5 years in of doing this that I was able to negotiate those kinds of terms because my experience spoke for it. So just, yeah, but yes, like guys, there's lots of ways to make a deal happen. And by the way, if you're ever unsure, you're like, man, I got a deal, but I don't know how I can get this deal closed. Post in the group. Say, hey, I got a deal. Who can help me get this thing across the finish line? You'll find someone that's willing to work with you to get it there because we all want to win together. A small piece of something that wins is better than no piece of nothing at all.
Bob, I saw a question in the chat from John. What were the follow-up cadences again? So what his question was.
Yeah. So, and I think Gil actually answered, but I'll put him in here again, which is 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, 1 week, and then every single month until the property sells. This is how you do it. And by the way, guys, sounds crazy. It's not. Most of the properties will sell. 70 to 80% of them will sell after you, by the time you get to 1 or 2 months out on it. That's okay. Just keep putting out your offers. Keep following up. Keep asking, right? The number of times that by the third, fourth buyer falling out that we got the property, I can't tell you how many times that was the case. But if I hadn't followed up, they're not gonna call me, right? They're gonna call whoever's top of mind, whoever asks them or talked to them the last. That's who these agents will follow up with. So if that's not you, someone else is getting your deal.
There's another question by Peter. Can you get PO proof of funds for large multifamily?
Yes. Just submit a quote form for your deal and we can make it work.
Thank you, JJ. Thank you, Bob. That's really awesome. Actually is my question is this. I try to close it two deals right now, but that's a pretty much is a commercial. That's the RV park is one of them 2.5 million is they want to sell it. The other one 8 million. They sort of try to sell it. Then they needed the 50% down and I want to know is how you guys, because if I structure it that way and their income coming, if my interest be around 6 to 7%, that's going to be a good deal. If going to be higher than that, that's not going to be a good deal. For that, that's depend on how I'm going to structure it to lender. They lend me the money if they find out that's a good structure or not. How we're going to build it that one.
Let me restate the question because I think I understand, which is you've got a deal for an RV park. You're trying to understand what the interest rate's going to be to see if it's going to be a good deal. Am I summarizing that correctly?
Much exactly, but yes.
Yeah, so I can't give you a good answer to that because I don't know anything about the deal. Submit it
Mm.
through our quote form and we can get you a quote. Guys, whenever you submit information through a quote form, we actually take the time, and I'm gonna put Bell in the spotlight here. Bell takes the time to run it through some massively ridiculous complex spreadsheets that we have that spit out and tell us what we can and can't do based on all of the sources of money that we've built over our decades of doing this. And we'll come back to you with whatever we think is the best source of money and the rate for that money and the terms for that money that will fit the deal and what you're trying to do. So I don't know what the deal is going to be for you, Lee. Like I can't give you a good idea. Could it be 6%, maybe 7%, maybe 8%, maybe, right? Is it going to be 50% LTV, 70% LTV? I don't know. There's a lot of variability there. So I would just need more information. Submit it through the quote form and we'll get you a quote. By the way, guys, our team will get you a quote on any deal that you submit within 2 business days or less. In most cases, if you submit it in the morning of the EST, we'll have it to you before the end of the day, same day.
Yeah, that was my next question. Yes, thank you.
So guys, go out there, get some deals, submit the quotes. By the way, every time you submit a quote, you get points in the challenge, right? $1,000 on the line. That's not nothing, right? That pays for a whole lot of marketing, pays for a whole shoot, it can get your entire CRM almost for an entire year just to do the follow-up on all those MLS properties you're going to do, right? So this is something to take seriously. Go out there, put the effort in, put the time in, and make it happen. It will, those who put the effort out will be rewarded. It always works that way. That's it for now, guys. Thanks for being a part of this. Appreciate you guys all being here. Talk soon.